As a guitarist, one of the things that always stands out is where were you the first time you heard Eruption? There's so many highlights featured on Van Halen 1, but the one that guitarists fixate on is the second track called Eruption. It's 1 minute and 42 seconds in duration, and it's the epitome of a guitar showcase. Now, music had been written for solo guitar for quite some time, so there's nothing new about that. Eruption's interesting because it's really a showcase for the electric guitar. It highlights what's possible on that instrument. But as significantly, Eruption unveiled a technique that became Eddie's signature. It was highly innovative for the time, and that's one of the reasons that it has become such an iconic, classic record. And certainly, I would say, one of the holy grails of rock guitar. So Eruption is basically broken into 3 different sections. So the first section is based on some high-velocity blues licks. In my opinion, it's one of the most important recordings of an electric guitar ever made. The recording's really significant, not only in that it revamped and redefined electric guitar technique, but over the years, it's exerted a tremendous influence on young musicians. The second section in Eruption is really exciting because it basically features not only these high-velocity blues scales, but the infusion of other types of scales that sound more exotic, like the use of whole tone scales and chromaticism are blended in. There is one short phrase where Eddie quotes from a violin caprice by Rudolf Kreutzer. There's something about Van Halen that really stands out from a technical point of view. It ups the ante. It's just a much more fiery, technically ferocious approach, and really nothing had been done like that before. The apex of Eruption takes place during the third section, and that's where Eddie unveils the tapping technique. And what tapping is it's using your index finger to tap notes on the fretboard. It doesn't quite sound like a guitar, it sounds almost like a synthesizer. That's what most people assumed they were hearing the first time they heard Eruption, because there's no way they rationalized that an electric guitar could create that sound. But the truth of the matter is, no one had attempted to before. Eddie would develop the tapping technique further, for example, on the Van Halen album Fair Warning. It's an incredible demonstration of his expansion of the possibilities that tapping offered. Tapping harmonics. Really approaching the technique in a similar capacity to the way a bass player might use the slap technique in funk or R&B music. The first time I heard Eruption, I was probably about 11 or 12 years old, and I remember I took guitar lessons from a guy named Jim Adams in Oneonta, New York. Jim was a great guitar teacher. You could bring songs to him. He'd figure them out for you on the spot and show you how to play them, which was awesome at the time, because in most instances, when you studied an instrument, it was all about using a book, going by the book only, and it could be boring. But anyway, Jim had a little red Panasonic cassette player in his lesson room, and one afternoon happened to have a copy of Van Halen 1. I'd heard about Eruption, but I'd never actually listened to it before, and he played it, and I just couldn't believe it. It was hard to imagine that a guitar could play with such speed and fluency. It was like music from another planet to me. Thank you.